So I was at Toronto International Film Fest and I saw a whole bunch of movies. Let's talk about them. One of them was The Truth from Koreeda Hirokatsu. This is a director whose films I quite enjoy, even though I'm never really blown away by any of them. If one of his films is playing at a festival, I'll more than likely make time to see it. From the films I've seen of his, most of them seem to have a very light and sentimental tone, and although I personally tend to prefer movies that are a bit more challenging, they're always really nice to watch. And that's not to suggest that there are no challenging elements within the stories of his films. They always present unique and well thought out characters and conflicts. Now, this film is his first project that's not in the Japanese language. The dialogue in this film is English and French, and the cast includes Ethan Hawke, Juliette Binoche, and Catherine Deneuve, those last two being actors that I particularly love. The tone of this film is very familiar for fans of his previous works. The characters and conflicts are equally as interesting, but this film is a bit more meta than his others. Catherine Deneuve's character is not necessarily one that's made to be likable, but I really enjoyed watching her bring this character to life on screen. This movie certainly delivered for me in terms of my own expectations for it, but for some reason this one isn't as well received as some of his others. As far as I'm concerned, everything that I appreciate about his other films is found in this one as well, so it might just be a personal preference sort of thing. Either way, whether you're a fan of his works or haven't seen any of his films, I'd suggest checking this one out. I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. Another film I saw was Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler, directed by the Safdie brothers, who also directed Good Time, which is an amazing movie. Now, at this point, Adam Sandler is mostly known for his bad movies and his bad performances within them, but when working with the right director and given the right role, he can actually be pretty great. My favorite Adam Sandler performance would probably be from Punch Drunk Love, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, which is a fantastic movie that you should check out if you haven't already. In this film, he plays a sneaky and unethical jewelry store owner, and he actually fits the character very well. Much like Good Time, this film serves as a character study for a greedy and irresponsible main character. Now, if you're familiar with the Safdie brothers' previous films, you'd know that they have a pretty distinct style. Much of their shots are incredibly close, and it gives an intense feeling of claustrophobia. In this film, their style certainly is present to some degree, but not nearly as much. Hopefully it wasn't a decision that they made in order to be more accessible to mainstream audiences. Although I do personally prefer their more stylized and challenging presentation, there's really nothing to complain about in terms of how it was shot. Much of the visuals have a smooth and flowing movement to them, and that really helps the tone of the film combined with the editing and the intense soundtrack from Oneohtrix Point Never. It always feels as though things are moving and progressing. The tone of this film feels like Jenga blocks being stacked on top of each other, just waiting for it to collapse. There's a lot of tension in this movie, and these directors pull it off very well. Unsurprisingly, this film also has plenty of comedic moments. It's not the typical brand of comedy that you would see in any other Adam Sandler film. There's an element of insanity to the humor in this film, and that's the type of thing I really enjoy. There are moments in the film where the main character gets injured, but rather than feeling like cheap slapstick, it was actually pretty brutal and intense. You could have the same action performed in any other Adam Sandler movie, and it would come off incredibly cheesy, but what makes this work is how it's presented. When someone gets hit, you don't hear a cheesy punching sound effect. The sound you hear is one that makes you think that some serious damage was done. I really enjoyed the story and the characters. There are some clever and mesmerizing sequences to be found in the film as well. It was an absolute blast to watch, and oh man, was that ending ever satisfying. Check this one out when it gets a wide release in December, and also check out Good Time, because it's pretty amazing. And I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10.